Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, South African opposition leaders gun for President Jacob Zuma as he takes aim at his finance minister, Pravin Gordhan. Speculation that Gordhan's being forced out appears to be confirmed by the country's Communist Party. Few are pleased at the prospect. Also, after years of turmoil, Central African Republic prepares to mark the one-year anniversary of the presidency of Faustin Archange Touadera. Despite some successes, security remains a concern. And we take a look at the suspicions surrounding the origins of Uganda's second largest export, gold. But first, South Africa's president was at the centre of a lot of political activity on Thursday. He called a meeting of top officials amid speculation that he's making moves to force out Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. Rumours about Gordhan's fate hit the Rand hard earlier on in the week. The ANC-allied South African Communist Party said that it's been told the minister's in the firing line, and it's made it clear it's not happy.
We must not allow. The president informed us of his intention to effect a cabinet reshuffle, replacing both Minister and Deputy Minister of Finance. We recorded our objection to the intended reshuffle. That department is an extremely sensitive department. It must be treated with care. It must be handled with care. We must not allow the parasites and the vultures to encircle it and loot it completely.
Well, the guns are out for Zuma as well. The opposition Democratic Alliance is bringing a motion of no confidence against him, and the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters appealing to start impeachment proceedings. Aisha Ishmael joins us with more. Aisha, if Pravin Gordhan is pushed out, what will be the political blowback for Jacob Zuma?
Well, Georgia, there are widespread reports that President Jacob Zuma faces a revolt within his own party if he fires Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. And it's also rumored that at least 12 cabinet ministers are considering resigning their positions if President Jacob Zuma goes ahead. And of course, divisions within the ruling party are becoming more and more visible as senior members of the African National Congress continue to lose patience with President Jacob Zuma. And of course, there are increased calls for him to step down before his term expires in 2019.
So Maimane and Malema, the leaders of the Democratic Alliance and the Economic Freedom Fighters, have taken aim at Zuma once more. It's not the first time. Do either of their moves against him have much of a chance of getting very far this time?
Well, we know that the official opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, they've tried on numerous occasions to bring a motion of no confidence or a vote of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma, and they did not succeed. So whether they're going to succeed this time remains to be seen. On the other hand, the radical EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters, they will be taking their fight against President Jacob Zuma to the highest court in the land, and that is the Constitutional Court.
Thanks very much. Aisha Ishmael there for us in Cape Town. Well, UN peacekeeping troops could be cut back by around 7% in Democratic Republic of Congo. Tensions are on the rise in the country ahead of elections due later this year, but UN member states, particularly the US's Trump administration, wants to scale back numbers. A draft resolution is due to be voted on Friday. Jessica Lemazurier brings us more from New York.
This resolution calls for 500 blue helmets to be cut from the mission to scale it down to a little over 16,000 troops. It also calls for this peacekeeping mission to be made more effective and for it to work in a smarter way. Part of the changes include more mobility for the Rapid Reaction Force in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, this all comes in a context. There's a lot of concern here at the United Nations that the Trump administration is looking to slash its contributions to the United Nations and in particular target peacekeeping. At the moment, the United States contributes some 28% of the peacekeeping budget, so it's a huge contributor. And there's a lot of concern about what exactly the Trump administration plans to do. Now, whilst this is a scaling down of that mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Western diplomats told me that these cuts are not as bad as they could have been. There was concern because there is rampant violence still in DRC and also because there's political uncertainty. The elections are scheduled to take place later on this year, but there is a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not they will actually go ahead. And so many diplomats here did not want this mission to be dramatically cut.
Jess there for us in New York. Well, March 31st marks the first anniversary since Central African Republic's President Faustin Archange Touadera took office. He's been struggling to make strides in development, security and justice in the troubled nation, as Clément Bonneron tells us.
Faustin Archange Touadera was elected president of the Central African Republic 1 year ago. His promise to unify the country and end years of internal violence. Today, he says a lot has been achieved, but challenges remain.
There are still regions, especially in the northeast, that remain in the hands of armed groups, but we're engaged in talks with them. And also, let's not forget that we're being supported in our efforts by the UN peacekeeping forces, MINUSCA.
The country was plunged into chaos in 2013 by a coup that prompted sectarian violence. Today, areas under government control are firmly held, but 60% of the country is still in the hands of armed groups, and fighting is still spreading to the northwest. Meanwhile, the tattered economy's seen some growth, but 48% of the population struggles to find enough to eat, and only 35% have access to safe drinking water. On the streets of Bangui, people say they expect more from the president.
I think when you look at what's been achieved in a year, it's been positive overall. Since he was elected, the president has brought in the Chinese and they're renovating and rebuilding government buildings.
The economy is slowly getting back on track, but security remains a problem. If you want to go to Mbalai or Douala to buy merchandise, you need to go with an armed escort.
There are fears the recent shift towards ethnic violence after years of tensions between Muslims and Christians could now jeopardize the country's recovery. The UN estimates that over 200 people have been killed in the past 6 months alone.
Well, gold is big business in Uganda. The country's first refinery was recently inaugurated there, but very little gold is produced in Uganda. So where does it all come from? Our correspondents report.
In this highly secure factory, about 300 kilos of gold are processed every week. The refinery is run by Belgian businessman Alain Goetz.
It's a sophisticated machine which does a surface scan and which shows the content and the composition of the other metals it contains.
It's the only refinery in East Africa to produce gold of this purity. 75 people are employed here, most of them Ugandans. Alex Chega used to be a plumber before working here.
I took the training from here. We were the very first people to work here to make gold in Uganda.
56 kilos of gold are processed today at a value of more than $2 million. By processing gold officially and abolishing the local tax on the trade, the authorities here say they can start to eliminate the booming black market.
It was a sector which was always hidden. Now, by lifting the tax, the trade is becoming legal and transparent.
The gold comes from this region, but whether it's sourced from Uganda, Tanzania, or across the borders of the Democratic Republic of Congo or South Sudan, tracing its origin is extremely difficult. And regional instability makes it easier to smuggle this precious metal across Uganda's borders.
More than 90%, I can say it comes from Congo, because the production of gold in Uganda is very low. From my side, I would get it from people without even asking for documentation by government or clearances.
According to a recent UN report, most of the gold which comes from the DRC is produced illegally, and it's one of the main sources of funding for the many armed groups in the region. For now, it remains almost impossible to tell who may be profiting from this lucrative trade.
Well, that's it for In Africa for now. Thanks for watching. Take care.